Transform your career, business, life, and relationships. This is the Growth to Freedom Show. Now, here is your host, Dan Kuschell.
Welcome to growthtofreedom.com, the show that helps you transform your life, business, and relationships. I'm Dan Kuschell. Thanks for making us part of your day. We've got a great show today. Let me share with you. First of all, the show is presented by Done For You Solutions, and we'd love to connect with you. You can find us on Twitter at Dan_Kuschell. That's Dan_Kuschell, DAN_KUSCHELL. Or email us at info@growthtofreedom.com. That's info@growthtofreedom.com. We've been getting a lot of questions over the last couple weeks, so today is our check-in. Are you ready to check in? How's your week going? How's your day going? How's your year going? I mean, over the last few weeks, we've had some incredible guest experts, haven't we? One of our recent episodes, we had Shannon Waller of Strategic Coach talking about unique ability. I mean, what is your unique ability? What is the life you want to create? What would it be worth to get more freedom, clarity, confidence, direction? Well, unique ability gives you the ability to do that. And you get access to that full episode at growthtofreedom.com/19, growthtofreedom.com/19. Or how about Dave Jensen talking about leadership, teamwork, and hiring? You know, you can go get that episode at growthtofreedom.com/18. And a lot of questions have been coming in. You know, Dan, you've had a chance to interview all these experts. I mean, do you realize that I've been blessed? I've been so fortunate to interview well over 350 experts all over the world over the last decade. And I feel very humbled because I've certainly got a chance to extract a lot of wisdom that I apply in my life. And one of the common things, today's theme, today's show is about seeds of greatness. I believe inside of you, there's a seed of greatness. There's a seed of potential. There's a champion. There's a winner. You deserve the best. And you know what? What are you planning today? What you feed your mind with shows up every day. And one of the most important things that you can do is plant seeds of great questions. Right? What questions do you ask yourself on a regular basis? I think I learned this originally when I was like 16 or 17 years old from Tony Robbins, that the power of questions ultimately determine our destiny. I think my life in the last 20 years, 25 years in business has been a summary of the questions that and you know what? Maybe like you, I've had a tendency to ask some bad questions, right? Which has led to bad rituals, bad habits. And you know what? In a moment, we can turn that around. And today I want to share and show you a few strategies that you can put in place. So I want to dive right into it. I mean, what seeds are you planting on a daily basis to make your life extraordinary, to make it incredible, where you have that passion, that joy? So I want to have you check in real quick and think about, maybe if you're driving right now, think about it. If you have the ability to write it down, make a couple notes. What areas of your life are you happy with right now? I mean, seriously, what areas are going well for you? Is it relationships? Is it maybe business? Is it your career? Is it with your family? Is it with your friends? I mean, where in your life right now are you most happy, right? What are the things that are working for you, right? Now, on the flip side of that, where in your life or what in your life are you the most disturbed about or the most unhappy about? Now, that may seem like a strange question. Oh, I don't want to talk about the things that I'm disturbed about. One of the most powerful questions I've come to appreciate asking my kids at night, which I'll talk about rituals, because one of the questions, Dan, what rituals do you put in? Well, you've had a chance to learn from what rituals do you do? What rituals do you teach your kids? Because if it's good enough for your kids, it's probably good enough for us. And I'm going to share those here in just a few moments. But first, I really want to challenge you to think about the questions. See, I know for a lot of my life, I used to hide behind the curtain, if you will, of what I wasn't happy with. I used to suppress those, emotions or those feelings and just set it aside and compartmentalize and just keep moving forward. How about you? Do you know people like that? And I found that serves us to a certain point, but the ways that we do things, the way that we accomplish great things may get us to one place, but if we really want to get to that next place, we've got to do things a little different. In order for things to be different, we got to be willing to do things there. In order for things to change, we've got to be willing to change. In order for things to be great, guess what? You, me, we need to be able to and willing to do something great. And it starts with the power of questioning. And Dan Sullivan, who you heard from Shannon Waller last week, one of the concepts he shares, I think it originated from like an AA process, which is the first progress starts by telling the truth, right? So where are you happy in your life right now? Where are you unhappy? What are you unhappy with? What are you most disturbed about? And see, in a moment, I'm going to share with you how to get complete control of that to be able to go out and have mastery of your emotions, of your happiness, of your joy, right? So let's dive into it. So what are some of the rituals that I work with on a daily basis that I've learned? I didn't invent these by any means. This has been a process, and I'm still growing. I still make a lot of mistakes, admittedly, in my life, in my career. But here are a few that really open the door to having not only a great moment, but a great day, a great week, a great month, and a great year. And all these things add up. You know, see, when you wake up, well, the seeds of greatness, what seeds do you plant when you wake up in the morning? You know, I know a lot of people when they wake up, they slumber out of bed, you know, kind of sluggishly, to be polite, right? You know, they stumble off and go, you know, some people go, you know, get a coffee or get a cigarette, go grab the newspaper, turn on CNN, right? And what kind of a state are they in? You know, one of my first mentors is, I think I was 17, 18, 19 years old, somewhere in that range, is Tony Robbins. You know, he has this framework of how to think about our whole life is built on, number one, the standards we demand of ourselves. What standards are you demanding of yourself? Are you demanding the highest standards of excellence and extraordinary living? Or are you just okay being mediocre, right? And that's okay, but the first progress starts by telling the truth. So number one, it starts with standard. Number two, it starts with the story we tell ourselves, right? What stories do we buy into? Which leads to the state we live in. The state, the emotion, the engagement that we have. So standard, the story, the state, and then strategy. And see, if you want to change your result right now, the outcome, you start by changing the standard you set. You know, what is it you really want? Number two, you change the story around it, right? You can shift it from being a tough time to something you enjoy in a moment just by how you think about it. Thoughts are things, as Henry Ford said. What the mind of a man can conceive, it can achieve, right? And many of us are good at doing this the opposite way. We focus on what we don't want, and therefore that's what we get. You know, I remember as a kid when I was younger, I used to, you know, have these relationships with women, and I used to, you know, always be in a series of doubt all the time. And guess what would happen? The exact things I was doubting and questioning all the time. We get what we focus on most of the time. So what are you focused on? I'll challenge you. Change the standard. Improve the story. It improves your state. I mean, what would it be worth if you could live in a state of confidence, clarity, incredible happiness, joy, freedom, growth, contribution? What would your life be like? What would your career be like? What would the relationships be like in your life, right? So standard, story, state, and strategy. And we're going to talk about a strategy here. So for me, when I wake up in the morning, I immediately go to exercise, and I spend about 30 minutes going through an exercise routine, whether it's on the elliptical machine or running. And along with that, I like to listen to audio programs that feed my mind. See, these are seeds. You know, I look at it like I'm Johnny Appleseed. And the more seeds I plant of potential greatness, the better the result, right? And so I feed my mind. I nourish my mind. You know, I listen to Joel Osteen pretty regularly, right? An incredible program. It nourishes my mind. It nourishes my soul. You know, I listen to all types of audiobooks from audible.com. Incredibly powerful, nourishing my mind, right? So wake up, exercise, listen to audio. Then I like to write. So I found myself in the last 30 days, I've got my journal here, literally the last 30 days of all the questions I'm asking myself on a daily basis. And, you know, if you're listening to this right now, you can't see it, but literally 3/4 of this notebook is full. I have a daily journal. All my conversations that I've had for the last 5 years, I keep in these journals every day because I'm not smart enough to remember everything. So I make a lot of notations so I can refer back to it if I need it, right? But what I've discovered is The questions ultimately determine our destiny, as Tony Robbins talks about. You want to shift the questions, or you want to shift the outcome, shift the questions you ask. I'm going to talk about some of those questions today too. I also look at utilizing a lot of tools. So fortunately, through Strategic Coach, you heard from Shannon Waller. Again, you can refer to that episode at growthtofreedom.com/19. And there's a lot of tools through Strategic Coach that really help bring clarity, asking the right questions, right? And in listening to the different audio type programs that I do, many times I'll turn the lesson that they provide into a question to flesh out for me what's most important. Next, I like to eat paleo foods. I'm not in a position because of time, maybe like you. I mean, are you busy, right? Today more than ever, our video person here is laughing. He's like, well, hell, everybody's busy. And the fact is, you can opt for fast food stuff and you can opt for crappy food, and I used to. And as a result, I was about 70 pounds heavier, and I started shifting my habits. So I was introduced to paleo foods here not too long ago, and I've come to enjoy it because it's gourmet food in package. And all I have to do is put it in either the microwave, or most of the time I put it in a toaster oven in about 15 minutes. It's like the best. It's like eating at a 4 or 5 star restaurant. It's incredible for less than $15 a meal. It's awesome. And it's convenient and it's quick, right? I don't even have to think about it. So I go to PetesPaleo.com to be able to get that. Then I have a protein-oriented breakfast, and I drink 2 bottles of water. So that starts my day. So think about that. If I do that every day for a year compared to most people who are sluggish, going through the motions, listening to CNN, reading the news, watching that, compare both people. Who's going to likely be more energized, more positive, more focused, have more clarity? I don't know. Is this perhaps a way to serve us a little bit better? Well, then on top of that, at night, I like to close my day with a few habits and rituals too, like walking. I like to take a walk with my wife, T. We take, somewhere between a 1.5 and a 3 mile walk together, taking a break about midway through. I've stumbled a friend of mine, Rick, who you can listen to our episode at growthtofreedom.com/17, how to create superfans. But he introduced me to this incredible app called Headspace. It's free trial for 10 days at Headspace, but nonetheless, I meditate. And then lastly, we get into reflection. So I'm going to talk more about reflection, more about rituals. We're going to talk more about your seeds to greatness on growthtofreedom.com. Welcome back to growthtofreedom.com. Are you ready for more clarity, confidence, and direction? Well, let's summarize the first segment of the show. We've been talking about seeds of greatness. We've been talking about getting into those rituals to make you your best you, right? Because you are a champion. You deserve the best. The power of questions, right? We talked about, what are you happy about? What are you unhappy about, right? And starting your day or utilizing your day to really take care of yourself, built around rituals. And I left off with, I started off with waking up, exercise, audio, writing, asking the right questions, paleo. So our video person said, what was that again? It was PetesPaleo.com. And essentially what a paleo diet is, it's a predominantly a protein-oriented diet, right? Now, I'm not perfect on this, by the way. I have my fun too, and I have my cheat days, if you will, but I do more paleo. About 80% of my diet is around a paleo-type lifestyle, and that gives me the freedom to have the 20%. And for me, after my heart issue, the heart scare, where I ended up 4 days in a hospital where a doctor said I had a 1 in X chance of dying on the table, these have become really powerful supporting ways for me. Another thing is sleep. For over a decade, I lived on less than 4 hours of sleep a day, right? Now, I had friends of mine who said, Dan, you're superhuman, right? Until you're not. And I ended up in a hospital, as this apparently unsuperhuman person, and I had to make some shifts. So today I get between 6 and 8 hours regularly, and I feel more energy, more revived, and I've combined it with these other things. I talked about meditation, this great app that you can try out at headspace.com. You can get it on your Android, you can get it on your iPhone. And then lastly, at dinner, one of my favorite things with my kids is a bonding time where we sit down and we go through 5 questions at dinner while we eat. We talk about, what am I grateful for right now? Oh, by the way, I actually ask that question to start my day too. When I'm exercising, I actually visualize, what am I grateful for? And I start with myself. I think of my wife. I think of my kids. I think of my family. I think of my friends. I think of the people in my life, the opportunities, the business. And then I visualize some of the things that I want to have, because guess what? what you focus on happens, doesn't it? Right? Would it be worth to be able to get control of that in your life? Right? So anyway, coming back to dinner, we ask, what are we grateful for today? What are we happy about today? What have we done well today? We reflect on that, right? And we have this conversation built around it. We have a few laughs. Another thing that we discuss, we say, well, what mistakes did we make today? Instead of hiding and being embarrassed and being humiliated, right, around our mistakes, we embrace the mistakes because mistakes make us better, right? The key is not that we make mistakes, it's that we don't repeat mistakes. And the fact is, I love, my kids have come. This is actually their favorite question, I think, to answer because they seem to light up. Daddy, I made, I kicked the ball in the wrong goal. My kids are in soccer camp right now and having a blast. I'm blessed enough to be able to do that. And, my son, said, well, I let a guy go by and he scored. That was his mistake, right? He missed kicking it out, off to the sideline on defense. And I said, well, what did you learn by that, Kyler? And so, he shared with me, well, I've got to be a little bit more aggressive and, kick it out of the area. So we all learn from the mistakes we make. So why not embrace them? And what would it be worth to teach that to your kids? Now imagine your day. If you built in like these 6 or 7 rituals as a framework around your day. And then in the middle of that, you might have what you call work. I like to call it play as best as possible. Not that every day is playful, but I look at having a playful life. Because think about it, even the words you say to yourself, right? The words you say. How do you think about work? Is it work or is it a drudge, right? Do you dread getting out of bed in the morning and going? I know I used to, but you and I have the ability to control that. What joy can you bring out of it? I mean, think about it. What contribution are you making in your career, right? What are you grateful for as a result of that career? Even if it isn't one you truly enjoy, but you can turn it into a positive, right? What growth are you getting out of that career? What are you learning, right? And compare yourself to yesterday. Where are you today compared to yesterday? Where are you at today compared to 3 years ago? Now, here's another great question to ask. Where do you want to be in the next 3 to 5 years? And I encourage you at some point today, we talked about the question, what are you happy with right now? What are you unhappy with right now? I want to flip the switch on you. Dan Sullivan of Strategic Coach, he calls this the R factor question. If we were to meet 1 year from today, what would have to happen in your life for you to feel happy and satisfied with your progress? So fast forward, to 2000, whenever you're hearing this 1 year from today, look back over the year, what would have to happen in order for you to feel happy and satisfied with your progress? Right? And answer that question, right? I've got the answer. I've written this down a couple times over the last few months in my journal here, right? And for me, that's an incredibly powerful thing to be able to do, right? In the final segment of our show today, we're going to talk about a gentleman, Sean Stephenson, who came to our office yesterday. And Sean is the best-selling author, New York Times best-selling author of Get Off Your Butt. It's a great book, and I encourage you to go check it out. You can pick it up on Amazon. But Sean is about 3.5 feet tall. He's had over 200 bones broken in his body. He has a disease that literally he's not supposed to be alive today, right? That's what the doctors, the professionals told him. He's been featured in Tony Robbins' audio programs. And Sean is just an incredible human being. He's a doctor. He's a minister. I mean, he just seizes the day. And he's in our office talking about the power of questions. I'm going to share with you the couple questions. I literally have a page here of notes of the 2 questions that he got us to think about. And I want to share I want to get personal here for a minute with you, right? Here in the final segment of the show. But until then, one of the other questions that popped up is, Dan, who are some of the people that have had the greatest impact on you, right? Who are the people that have had the greatest impact? Now, I've been blessed. I've been able to work side by side with many of the leading experts in the world. And have provide value to them, right? And either helping their business grow or helping provide greater clarity, right? Where we both enhanced each other. We both advanced each other. But I think back to, I think it was 1998-ish. And I had come out of a business that I had struggled with, and I was dealing with the transition. You've been there? And my wife at the time, Elisa, had happened, her grandmother worked for a motivational speaker named Michael Wickett, right? And she set up a meeting for us to meet. We met at Cobo Hall in Detroit, and I think it was 1998 or so. And I sat down with Michael, and I had my series of questions. But the one question I asked, I said, Michael, who are like the top 5 people that I want to build a speaking business. I want to build a publishing business. Who would you recommend I learn from? because they had met massive success. And when we come back after the break, I'm going to share with you who have been the greatest influences in my life. And I know they've had influences in others. Now, the beauty is not only have I had a chance to learn from them, but I've also had a chance to work with many of them. I had a chance to interview them personally to really get their insights. See, there's a difference between knowledge and wisdom. Wouldn't you agree? You know, if having knowledge was the greatest asset in the world, wouldn't librarians be the wealthiest people in the world? Right? But guess what? They're not. There's a big difference between knowledge and wisdom. And how do you know that someone truly has wisdom? They're actually doing it, right? And as I bring experts to you on a weekly basis, we want to bring you the knowledge and the wisdom. And these are people who walk their talk. They lead by example. They do what they say they're going to do. One of the things I appreciate about Joe Polish of Genius Network is he's the same person front stage and backstage. That's called being congruent. So I want to talk about some of that. I'm going to talk about some of the people who've had the greatest impact. We're going to talk about Sean Stephenson, the couple questions. He came into our office yesterday, gave us this incredible gift, this incredible juice to seize life. So coming up, right after this, growthtofreedom.com. Welcome back to growthtofreedom.com, the show that helps you get more clarity, confidence, and capabilities. Let's summarize the first two segments of the show. We've been talking about the theme, seeds of greatness. Yes, those seeds of greatness are inside of you. You're a winner. You're a champion. You're the best. And you deserve it. And what seeds are you planting? See, if you are like Johnny Appleseed and you just plant one seed over and you plant it in cement, what's going to happen? That seed's not going to grow, right? You want to plant the seeds in the right places. And I have to say for myself, in a lot of cases in my career and in my life, I've sometimes found myself planting seeds in the wrong places. How about you? I've made that mistake, right? Got the T-shirt, T-shirt to prove it. Worn and certainly run over by a truck. And so we were talking at the break. We were talking with our video person here, and I asked him, what are you happy with? What are you, disturbed by or unhappy with? And he brought up for him, I think a common thing for most people, whether you're in a career or maybe you own your own business. He's 22 years old. He runs his own company, runs a video production studio, right? And he said, I just haven't been able to market myself as effectively as I like. Well, I think anybody in business, even the most successful people I've ever met, go, I have that problem. I'd like to learn how and be better at marketing myself, more effective, more efficient, right? Efficient is being able to do things right. Effective is doing the right things, right? And I think I learned that from Tony Robbins years ago. But nonetheless, he said, I'd like to be marketing myself better. And it reminded me, for you, how could this apply? Whether it's your career or maybe you're in business, how could you get yourself out there and tap into potential of new clients? I mean, what's the best form of business for you, right? In your career or in your business, it's likely referrals, isn't it, right? So one of the ways is to be able to get out there, and I shared with them a couple resources that I thought would be helpful. And, it applies here locally, but it probably applies nationwide and worldwide too, right? So I shared with them here locally, there's meetup groups. You can go online to meetupgroups.com, I believe is the website. And you can actually, if not, do a Google search for meetup groups, and you can literally find all types of categories for business, niches, right? Photography interest, to video interest, to business networking groups, to marketing, to all these different types of things. And for him, I recommended, you should tap into Joe Polish's I Love Marketing meetup group here locally. There's a gal named Charlie who runs a great group here. They have about 30 to 50 people that show up every month. High-level achieving entrepreneurs and business owners who are all have an interest to grow their business, right? And start providing value. And ultimately, I would imagine just by the strategic byproduct of providing value, you'd likely walk out of there with business. There's another group called the GKIC local chapter. A gentleman here in Phoenix runs it. His name is Chuck Truck. And again, they have these all over the country too, just like them. But literally all over the country, you can find meetup groups, and you could go position yourself to provide value and have a mutual value exchange. So that would be a way to be able to get out. Another example, my wife and I had a group come out and present solar to have in our house, basically to save us money. Long story short, we met this incredible guy named Jacob, and what he did is, he presented a great opportunity, showed us without hesitation how we're going to save about 25% on our monthly bills, right? And for us, it just made sense. Now, this is, a pretty significant commitment, number one, but we enjoyed the experience. I just love a good experience. I love when people are talented. I love when they can convey their message in a simple way. So I gave him an idea. I said, well, why don't you get an endorsement from us in writing and then mail that endorsement to the people in the neighborhood? Right? It would cost about $1 a letter, but it'd allow you to can and clone yourself. Instead of going in cold, you'd have a warm endorsement. He's like, oh my God, I love that idea. And I said, yeah, when you become the sales manager, because this is such a great idea, I want to get a couple percentage points on all the sales you make. And I'm kind of kidding, but not. But nonetheless, that would be a way that you could can and clone yourself using effective marketing, right? Now, by the way, where did I learn? I led off the last segment of the show talking about who do you learn from, right? Who's had the biggest influence on me? So I actually just made a note here of some of the people I'm so grateful in my life for, whether it was serendipitous or whether it's been partnership or whether it's been mentorship over the years. People like Tony Robbins, right? Dan Kennedy, Bill Gould, Brian Tracy, Dean Graziosi, Joe Polish, Lori Rubidge, Dan Sullivan, my dad, my wife, my kids, my ex-wife, Randy Gage, Joshua Schaffer, Michael Wickett, and more. Right? And so I've been so blessed to be able to learn from some of the leading thought leaders in the world and team up with them, partner with them, build businesses together, and had a lot of fun doing it. And, the thing that, people have asked, well, what would you say has been the main thing? Number one, Matt and I were talking about this, our video. And by the way, where can people find you if they want to find an incredibly talented, fun guy to work with in video production? What's your website?
You can email me at Seiple or at mseiple@me.com.
mseiple, mseiple at me.com. You can get more information. But we were talking before the break about the difference of what we talked about in the previous segment, right? And there's a big difference between trying to impress people and really linking, connecting, and identifying, right? And that means be yourself. See, I want to show you methodologies, strategies, right? So that you can match up and be the same person front stage as you are backstage. And that takes a little bit of work. Welcome back to growthtofreedom.com, the show that helps you get more clarity, confidence, and capabilities. I'm Dan Kuschell. Thanks for making us part of your day. Let's summarize the first three segments of the show. We've been talking about seeds of greatness. We've been talking about rituals, right? We've been talking about the power of question. We've been talking about what are you happy with in your life right now? Where are you dissatisfied with? What's disturbing you right now? And then ultimately, what can you do about it? We talked about Matt and gave an example in the last segment. We were talking about, number one, getting yourself out there, networking, connecting, finding places where people are at that are your kind of people, right? And you can find those places like meetup groups, networking, Chamber of Commerce, Toastmasters, and many more. We were talking about how to can and clone. I used the example of Jacob and how he used this. We talked to him about using an endorsement from my wife and I to can and clone himself, as Joe Polish calls it, from Genius Network, to be able to get out a message to ultimately speak to large groups of people at one time. In other words, it's being effective, doing things right, and doing the right things, right? So where can you spend more time being more efficient, more effective, do the right things, do things right? To be a better you, to plant those seeds of greatness. Where are you planting those seeds? Are you planting them on cement, or are you planting them in fertile soil? And then once you do plant those seeds, are you planting one, or are you planting many? I challenge you to think about the more seeds you plant, the more opportunities you have to grow, right? And the more opportunity you have to grow, if you take care of those seeds and you pull the weeds around it, right? You've got to help protect your environment, create the right environment, create the right rituals to get the best opportunities, the best growth. Because if you have weeds growing around your seed, what happens? It overtakes that seed and kills it. There was a point in my life where I essentially did that. Number one, I was sleeping, less than 4 hours a day. I didn't have the best nutrition and health habits. And there's cause and effect, isn't there? Right? And what would it be worth for you to be able to tap into that inner genius, that inner talent, to be unstoppable, to be the champion you deserve to be? Well, how can you do that? Well, I think a great example is, I was sharing with you and with Matt here that we had Sean Stephenson. He's a New York Times bestselling author of Get Off Your Butt, and he's an incredible, you can go look him up on YouTube, by the way. And he came into what an incredible gift that he gave us by sitting down and was sharing some stories with us in the office. And, he's just an incredible human being, a light to the world. And, he had us ask 2 questions, right? And I'd like to share these with you, and I'm going to get a little personal, but I hope through this you can see how it applies to you, right? And he asked 2 very simple questions. He says, when life works, right? Question. When life works, what do you have in place? And then he said, when life sucks, what do you have in place? And so I sat down and I did the list, and, I had several things here. For me, life works when I'm building, creating, advancing. I'm writing. I take my walks with T. I walk with T and the kids. I exercise at least 30 minutes in the day. I meditate. I sleep at least 6 to 7 hours. Doing this radio show, doing the podcast, right? Time with Kira and Kyler, being able to influence others, to be able to make a difference, to make an impact, to be able to market, to be able to go out and enjoy a movie with my wife. That sounds so simple, but it's something that we love to do. Enjoying a laugh. We have a goal in the morning that we work, I work. I'm doing all the work, by the way, in this relationship. T, if you're watching, if you're listening, yes, I'm speaking to you. I do all the work. And we have this, I'm kidding, obviously. She tolerates me is what the real story is. But nonetheless, is that we have a goal that if we make each other laugh 3 times during the day, we've had a good day, right? And so I look to get that goal hit by 5:30 most mornings. And it's not that hard for me, trust me. She just turns over, looks, and she laughs her butt off. I love to do public speaking, right? Identify what I'm grateful for. That I get to coach and lead people, saying thank you. Like right before the show, I was writing thank you cards out to a few select people that I wanted to just say thanks for some things they've done. Getting a massage, getting a manicure and pedicure, taking time to read, listening to audio programs. Talked about that earlier. Getting a scalp massage. I'm blessed. My wife gives me a scalp massage like twice a week. It's incredible, right? It's the little things in life we come to appreciate. Having a picnic, taking a free day with my wife. Breakfast we call this T's Cafe. It's one of my favorite things to be able to do in the morning. We have a little cafe at our house. I cook breakfast or she cooks breakfast, and we just have a little conversation at what we call T's Cafe. It's just awesome. It's creating, we call it the cockpit, creating the environment, a winning environment overall. Being passionate with my wife is something I enjoy. Passionate kissing with my wife and being able to truly look in each other's eyes, connect, right? Truly look in each other's eyes, connect, and say, I love you. That to me is a great day. So that's when life works. Now, on the other hand, when life sucks, I have, these things like interrupted constantly, constant text messages and voice text, impulsive emails that I get from people, being in a hyper-reactive environment. There's a way to be responsive versus overreactive. So I'm talking about the overreactive state, right? Being in a state of constant second guessing, lack of appreciation and respect. So these are things that when life isn't working, that I don't enjoy. And I have Sean Stephenson to thank for these questions. And as I think about my life, as I'm sitting here where Matt and I are chatting, my life has been built around the questions. And when I ask good questions, things go well. When I ask bad questions, things don't. And I'd hate to see that happen to you. So you want a better life? You want to tap into the seeds of your greatness? Ask better questions. I challenge you. You can start with the 5 questions, I share with my kids at dinner. What am I grateful for right now? What am I happy about right now? What have I done well today? Right? Are you like me? I know I used to beat myself up. I still have a tendency to do that, quite frankly. But one of the ways that I channel that, see, you want to avoid fear? Do you face fear sometimes? Do you face doubt sometimes? Do you face anger sometimes? You want to know one of the best ways to conquer all lack thinking, scarcity mindedness is gratitude. Gratitude may be one of the greatest gifts that we all have, and we control what we're grateful for. Like in this moment, right now, right here, whether you're driving, whether you're listening, whether you're exercising, whatever you're doing, if you're sitting listening, just think of 3 things you're grateful for right now. I don't know about you, but when I think of the things I'm grateful for, I get a little extra pep in my step, if you will. I get a little joy inside of me, right? What are you grateful for right now? So much to be grateful. First thing I'm grateful for is I get to wake up today. That's a good day, isn't it? Right? But we take that for granted sometimes. I don't know what you believe in, but our Creator, deemed us. We're a child of an incredible God, right? And we're blessed. And the fact that we get to wake up and seize today, what's that going to look like for you? Are you just going to get by? I-O, is off to work I go. Or are you going to seize the day and make something happen? You get to decide that. And it starts with gratitude. So what are you grateful for right now? What are you happy about right now? Right? You might be going, oh, yeah, I can't think. And you know what? I've been there. Sometimes it isn't easy. But what if you could be happy about something? What would it be? Right? What are you grateful for? What are you happy about? What have you done well today? Maybe it's early in the day, depending on where you're listening all over the world. Or maybe it's late in the day. Either way, find something that you've done well today. It could be just taking this moment to check in with yourself. You know, one of the things that stood out from Sean Stephenson when he came into our office yesterday, he talked about one of the best ways to overcome stress and distress is self-care. And I know Matt and I were talking about that. Self-care is one of the greatest gifts that we possess. But guess who controls that? You do. I do. Right? It's not someone else. So if you're having a terrible day, you know the kind of day I'm talking about, right? You know, you wake up, you stub your toe, you bang it on the corner, right? Maybe you walk into that dresser and hit your knee on it. You go out to the car, the car doesn't start, it just, it doesn't start, right? You got to pop the hood, and then when you open the hood, you hit your head on the hook of the hood. That day's not starting off so good, but guess what? It could be a terrible start to a day, but you can have a great attitude about it, right? Because compared to what, right? There are a lot of people who have it worse off. Don't have cars, don't have the ability to wake up, don't have the ability to have a great meal, whatever, right? So self-care is one of the greatest gifts you and I possess to plant seeds of greatness. And what are you planting, right? So number one, I want you to think about the seed. Thoughts are things. What are you thinking about today? You want to shift the quality of your life, shift the quality of your thinking and what you think about. Best way to shift the quality of your thinking, ask better questions, right? You want to shift from a feeling of doubt, scarcity, lack-mindedness? Well, shift the quality of questioning. Who are you in abundance? What does your life look like? You know, here's a great question. I talked about Dan Sullivan question a little bit earlier, which is the R factor question. What has to happen in order for you to feel happy and satisfied with your progress? Right? Another way to look at it, ask the question is, what could I have in my life right now that would give me all that I need? Right? And most of the time you already have. I believe success starts from the inside out. Many times, you know, for a lot of my life, I chase things outside of myself. And I found that the harder I chase things, the further away it got. How about you? Right? You know, I remember early in my business career, it was about how much money I can make. And the harder it seemed that I chased money, the further away it actually got. When I started focusing on things far more important, mentally, physically, socially, spiritually, emotionally, when I got those things better in order, not that we ever perfect them, but when we focus on mastery in those areas, guess what? Finances seems to fall into place too. And in fact, if you're having a challenge around money, I believe that one of the biggest links to that is your emotional connection, your emotional mastery will ultimately determine all these areas. And in fact, in one of our episodes coming up around the corner, we're going to have Dr. Christy Lopez talking about the concept of emotional mastery, emotional triggers, shifting from a fear-based mindset to a fulfilled type mindset, shifting from a lack mindset to an abundant mindset emotionally. Because you can own that right now in this moment. That's right. And I'm going to say that again. You can own it in this moment. That's pretty cool, isn't it? You can own it in this moment if you choose to. And likewise, you own it in this moment if you choose not to, because it's what you focus on. What you put your attention to will grow. It will magnify. It will rise up. The tide will lift all boats. One of the things we look to do on this show is to bring you access to the leading experts in the world, to not just bring you knowledge, but to bring you wisdom. And I challenge you as you're watching, as you're listening, take action with what you're learning today. So to summarize what we've been covering, right? We've talked about the seeds of greatness. That seed, I want to challenge you. Plant good seeds. Plant good questions. Shift from doubt to abundance. Ask better questions in your day. You can use the 5 that I've shared with you. How about rituals? What are some rituals you can put in place today? What's one ritual you can put in place? A new ritual you can put in place today. Maybe it's drinking more water. Maybe it's exercise. Maybe it's meditation. Maybe it's getting the app I talked. Maybe it's eating a better diet with, something simple like paleo foods. Maybe it's reflecting at dinner, right? Maybe it's taking a walk once a day, and so much more. What are some of those rituals you can put in place? You want to increase the quality of your life as well? On top of questions, on top of rituals, find mentors that you can learn from, right? I talked about a series of experts I've been blessed to learn from. We talked about Stephenson. I challenge you, apply the question, when life works, when life doesn't, right? For you, because only you know that answer. I hope you've had as much fun today in our show. I hope you're better for it. I know I feel better for it, and I appreciate you. And now is your time to take action, take the steps. You deserve it. You're the best. You're a winner, right? You can get a recap of the show at growthtofreedom.com/20. That's growthtofreedom.com/20, or email us at info@growthtofreedom.com. And if this show resonated with you, I encourage you to repeat after me. I'm a winner. I'm a champion. I'm the best. I deserve it. I encourage you to find a collaboration group, find a meetup type group, find a mastermind type, find a coach. It's one of the fastest, best ways to grow your business, to grow your career, grow your life, grow your relationships. That's it for today. Seize the day, make it a great week, and we'll see you next time on growthtofreedom.com.